In 1962, one day, Ike wakes Tina up saying, like, hey, we're going to get married now. And she's just like, oh, okay. And so they drive down to Mexico, to Tijuana. It probably wasn't super legal because Ike maybe didn't officially divorce his last wife. Nathan, guess how many wives Ike Turner had in his life?
I'm hoping it's like Henry VIII, 6.
14.
What?
14.
Oh, after the wedding, I took her to a sex worker house in Tijuana to see a live show, which was something that Tina was not very much into. I mean, look,
No judgment.
if you're both into it, cool, none of my business. But if I'm like, hey, I'd rather just go have Mexican food and a margarita and go to bed.
Yeah, but no, it's in her book. She said that it was more gynecological than erotic.
As a gay man, I don't want to hear anything about gynecology.
You're like, as a gay man, let's stop there. But no, she just didn't find it fun or sexy or anything at all.
And Tina told all of her friends, oh, he whisked me away to a Mexican resort, took me to a cabaret afterwards, because what else are you gonna say? I saw a pap smear on stage? No.
Ugh. Okay, so we're gonna do some skimming over the next few years of their lives. Tina and Ike get pregnant, and Tina goes on tour while she's pregnant, and she performs up until like 2 days before she gives birth. And can you imagine? Because you know how physical her performances are. She was not toning it down. But again, she was like 20, so she's like,
this is akin to the women we've covered that went on horseback for while they were pregnant. This is the same sort of physical activity.
He was performing up until 2 days before the birth because that's what he booked shows until 2 days. If he would have booked a show the day that she went to labor, she would have been having that baby on the stage.
At the hospital.
I'm surprised.
I'm
actually surprised he didn't have her like performing at the hospital, like in the cafeteria or something. But no. So she has their one biological son that they have together, and they name him Ronnie. Tina adopts Ike's 2 other sons, and Ike adopts Tina's son, Craig. So legally, they are one big happy family, which on the outside, how nice is that?
Yeah, except your husband's an abusive asshole.
And sleeping with every other woman that he meets still. Yeah.
Lovely. So during this tour, she meets a lifelong best friend named Rhonda.
That Rhonda and Tina are friends for the rest of their lives.
That's good.
Yeah.
So they do a UK tour with the Rolling Stones.
Maybe you've heard of them.
NBD, because in America their music, it's like too white for black radio stations but too black for white radio stations, so they're struggling to find where they fit in their audience. But the Brits fucking love them.
Yes, the British people are into the Ike and Tina review. And Tina and Mick Jagger actually become lifelong friends, which is a pretty good friend to have in this industry, you know?
Yeah. And Tina fell in love with London, which really isn't that surprising. It was so different than anything she knew back home. She loved fashion. She loved history. Same. She loved the people, and the people loved her.
Though that they went to McDonald's in London, and they tried to get iced tea, which in the U.S., especially in the South, you know, iced tea, it's
sweet tea.
Yeah.
It's the house wine of the South.
Yeah, it's the house wine of the South. That is such a good way to put it. But like the British people didn't know.
I can't claim that's from Steel Magnolias.
Oh, okay. But the British people did not fucking understand what they were asking for. They were like, so you want us to make you hot tea and then put ice in it?
Also, while in London, she got her first psychic reading. And that psychic told her, you are going to be a huge star, but your partner's gonna fall by the wayside. And already, this early on in her life, she starts thinking, how nice it would be to perform without my crazy husband.
Yeah. Yeah, how nice would it be to like have freedom? But at this point, she doesn't really have the confidence yet to see herself as a solo act at all.
So they come back home to America, and now they're famous. In 1967, Tina Turner was the first black person on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine.
And
hands up. She was also the first woman on the cover of Rolling Stone.
But guess who wasn't on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine and felt like he was being a little bit overshadowed?
Jealous.
Fragile Dick Energy Ike Turner over here. He's like, I am the person that made her famous. Why am I not being on the cover of the magazine?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, the more successful the band got, the more famous Tina got because, duh, she's the lead singer. And it seemed like the more famous Tina got, the more he felt like he needed to control her, put her in her place, take her down a few pegs. Ugh, gross. But she talks about one time they did a show and everyone was calling for an encore, but they were chanting, Tina, Tina, Tina. Yeah. And she was like, I wanted them to stop because I knew I was going to get slapped around for them calling for my name and my name only.
But, like, you know what? The Ike and Tina Turner review doesn't really roll off the tongue when you're chanting.
Tina.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I hate that for her because it's like such a lose-lose situation for her. Because it's like, what? If I perform shitty, Ike is gonna punish me. But if I perform so well that people call me by name, Ike is gonna punish me. So, a little later in the late 60s, Tina got a taste of freedom. Nathan, have you ever seen the movie Tommy?
No.
Okay, so you know the band The Who?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I saw it when I was in high school, and I was just like, well, that's a weird fucking movie, and never really thought about it again. So she played the Acid Queen in it, which again is just this like overly sexualized character. But before we move on about how this affected Tina Turner's life, so it started as a concept album, and they turned it into a movie. Tina Turner's in it, Elton John, Eric Clapton, Jack Nicholson, obviously everybody in The Who is in it. It's about a disabled kid who gets sexually assaulted, but then, like, learns how to play pinball real good and starts a cult.
What the fuck?
I know! What the fuck was going on with movies in the 70s? Reel it in, but, no, so she played the Acid Queen. Ike was not invited to come to London for the recording of this movie. So she kind of gets like 15 seconds of freedom.
Oh, finally. And she loved having this little glimpse of what it would be like to not be controlled every second of the day.
Right.
She was having so much fun playing this over-the-top character and just getting to do something new. She loved being back in London, but all her money she made was being sent right back to Ike. And he watched their bank accounts like a hawk. So she didn't get to do too much outside of that besides just work.
Yeah, and I think it's important for anybody that doesn't realize, a woman couldn't even, in most states in America, a woman couldn't even open a bank account, or it was okay for a bank to deny a woman to open a bank account without her husband or her father co-signing. Husbands had complete control.
And while filming Tommy, she went on the Anne Margaret show. So Anne Margaret was a singer, dancer, actress who had her own variety show in the UK. And whereas everyone else had been instructed to wire any money Tina had made back to Ike, Anne Margaret was like, I'm just going to pay you and we don't have to tell Ike. Because Anne Margaret is a feminist.
She's a girl's girl. She is here for the girls. So, sadly, when Tina did have to head home, the abuse picked right up. That must have been so hard, like having a break from the abuse and then having to come home and get right back, having it become a part of your life again. And she's like, I'm calling my mom. I'm going to ask my mom, please help me form some kind of escape plan. I can't do this anymore. Help me get out of this.
And what did her mom say? Tina, he's a rich man. He puts up with you. Okay. Honey, he's only rich because of me.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is not make him mad. Excuse me, this man is a boiling pot of tumultuousness.
Breathing makes him mad.
She's not gonna be silent. Like she's gonna say something if something pisses her off. Yeah. So it's just like, ugh.
I know. And I guess it's also worth mentioning that Ike had bought Tina's mom a house. So
so he wooed her with the money.
And again, since it's Ike's name on the bank account, I mean, Tina's hard work bought the house too, but it's Ike's name on the mortgage, you know. Side note, this just made my blood boil because Nathan, longtime family friend, you've met my mother. Yes. If I called her and was like, my husband's beating the shit out of me, which would never happen, but if I did,
she would drive her ass to Austin.
She would be like,
knock on the door and pull you out, and then be like, "Let's go."
See,
honey.
I'm thinking
Let's go
she would have.
House.
I'm thinking she more would have been like, "All right, baby, so do you want to be part? Like, do you want to know where the body is buried, or do you want to like have like this deniability?"
I wasn't gonna go that far, but it's true.
Yes,
it's true.
Yes, and that's something you deserve that from your mom. So I hate that her mom was just like, he's a rich man that puts up with you. What more do you want? I mean, like we said, complicated relationship with her mother.
She's miserable.
Yeah, this next part may be a bit of a content warning too. If you want to just skip until after the next ad break.
She was just miserable that one day in 1968, and she ended up taking 50 sleeping pills. Ugh. Like, she just didn't want to do this anymore. She didn't have respect from her spouse or her mother. So I hate this, but I get it.
Yeah.
She just didn't want to do it anymore. And
she's like, Rhonda also with her kids, she's like, I'm not setting a good, like, they'd be better off me not even being here anyway, because I don't feel like I can set a good example for them. So, yeah. I know.
Sad. And then Rhonda, her BFF, finds her passed out backstage after taking all those pills, and she and Ike rush her to the hospital where, thank God, they were able to revive her.
But when she comes to the next day and rolls over and there's Ike's face right in her face.
Oh, creepy vibes.
And he says to her, "You should have died, motherfucker."
What?
Right.
What?
And that's all he says to her. And then he leaves and he doesn't come and visit her the rest of the time that she's recovering.
No, ma'am, no ham, no collard greens. You better fuck the fuck off.
You should have died, motherfucker. Which one, though? And then there's another story, like, after she gets a little bit better, he was like, do you know what it would have done to me if you would have died? And he doesn't mean, like, it would have broken my heart. He meant, like...
he would have lost money.
He meant, like, the show. Yeah.
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 He wouldn't have been able to make money without her.
Yeah.
Ew. So... However, at this moment of distress and heartbreak, Tina says she had her aha moment realization. There must be a plan for me. Why else would God or whoever the higher power is just not let me die? So she said after this, she was determined to live a better, happier life. She didn't know how, but this was her wake-up call. That she was going to eventually take matters into her own hands.
Right. So the darkest hour is before the dawn, and we're about to get to the beginning of the dawn of Tina Turner.
Thank God, because it has been dark.
It has been dark.